Welcome, I'm Brad Hook, and today I'd like to share some tools for discovering your core values. This is something I'm passionate about. In fact, I've written a whole book called Start with Values, founded a movement called Start with Values, and I believe that we should start with values, but we first need to discover our values. So there are many ways to discover your values. One simple method is to use fulfillment as your guide. How do we do that? Well, we begin by reflecting on which events or moments of my life have brought me fulfillment. Associated emotions might be awe, AWE, or curiosity, or those times that you were in flow state where you were no longer thinking about the activity. You were just one, you were in the zone. From being a runner, you become the experience of running. Think back to moments where you were laughing, when you were enjoying yourself, when you were growing. And you might discover some of the values that were driving those behaviors. So, for example, if I reflect back on my own life, I might say fitness is a real value for me because often the moments of heightened emotion, those moments that are most memorable, most fulfilling for me, involved physical activity, running up a difficult trail, or going surfing in big waves. Whatever it might be, it leads back to this idea of physical fitness or creativity. For me, creativity is a driving force. When I'm not being creative, I can feel a little bit stifled. I can feel a sense of inertia. I like this idea of growth and creativity. So if I look back on my own journey, fulfillment comes to me in moments of creativity. So there we go. I've already got two values, creativity and fitness. What about you? Think back to your favorite memories, those times when you really felt like you did something worthwhile, and see if you can isolate the values that were driving those behaviors. It can be something you haven't done for a long time. Perhaps you used to enjoy dance or drama or whatever it is. But let's go back in time and spend a little bit of time reflecting. But let's dedicate a few minutes to introspection and reflecting on those moments that brought you real fulfillment. Next up is looking at the values of people you admire. These could be people in your life, family members, mentors, colleagues at work, or it could be historical figures. It's up to you. But think about who you really admire. Write down their names on a piece of paper, and now see if you can identify the core values of each of those individuals. This is a fascinating exercise because often the people we admire have values that resonate with us. Sometimes they're ideals rather than values, but it's an interesting series of hints. But we can definitely gain clarity about our own values by looking to those who we admire. So, for example, for me, Nelson Mandela is someone that I deeply admire. What were his values? Well, core was compassion, altruism, kindness, and that really resonates with me. So I would write that down on my list. Now I already have three values: fitness, creativity, and kindness. I'm hoping that this exercise will uncover a few more values for you. Continuing, sometimes we need a little bit of help, and there is no shortage of values assessments, tools, techniques out there on the internet. Perhaps the easiest place to start is with the Values app by Start with Values. It's something that I created to help you on your journey. What makes it unique is that instead of providing you with a huge list of values to select from, there are values categories linked to our values pyramid model. There is a link in the show notes if you're interested. The categories are belonging, growth, impact, and fulfillment. And most people will have a scattering of values across this pyramid. For someone who's just starting in their career, someone younger, they might have more growth values. For someone who's progressed a bit further along the journey, they might be focused more on fulfillment or impact values. For many, belonging is the foundation for a good life. That's our social fitness, feeling like we're part of a community that we can rely on. Incredibly important for our resilience and for our mental health. So consider the Values app a tool that's free. It's there for you to use anytime. Link in the show notes. Go through the process, and what you'll actually discover is that it provides you with the opportunity, once you've selected your top 5 values using a number of rating systems, you can create micro habits so that you can start to live your values deliberately, intentionally, every single day. Remember, fulfillment, and in this case, micro fulfillment, can happen every single day. You don't have to wait for those magical moments when you make it to the top of a mountain or you finish a creative project. You can have micro fulfillment every single day by aligning some of your actions to your core values. This is how you get momentum. This is how you start to enjoy your experience of life. This is how we alleviate some of that mental distress, by aligning our actions, even to a small degree, with what matters most to each one of us. Next up is using the values list. So there's a list for those of you who don't want to download or use an app. It's available at the link below. It's on the Start with Values website. And again, it's broken down into those key categories of belonging, growth, impact, fulfillment. And there's a number of values there. Reflect on which ones best describe you, core values rather than ideals, and create a list. Perhaps you've got 10, 12, 15 on your list. Later on, we'll talk about how to whittle them down to your top 5, maybe even your top 3. Now, reflect on your environment. Your environment tells a story about your values. Reflect on what you do each day. That tells a story about your values. If you're spending a lot of time engaged in activities you don't really like, ask why. And if the reason why is financial security or financial stability, you're getting paid to do these tasks, well, that simply shows that you value financial security. This is good. It's getting clear about it that can help you to either introduce some of your other values into your daily activities or to make some changes in your life. Sometimes we need change. Sometimes we just need to reframe what it is that we're already doing. Gratitude can really help us as a practice here. But I digress. So let's go back to the basics. Can you identify your core values based on what surrounds you in your home? The type of artwork on your walls, the type of food that you eat, the type of clothes that you wear. All of these can provide clues as to what you really value. And then even more important, how do you spend your time? What do you prioritize? What's really important to you? When do you experience distress? Distress is when we're acting out of alignment with what we value. So if I'm feeling low-level distress because I'm not exercising, and exercising is one of my core values, that's an important signal. Something's not right. I'm not aligned with one of my core values. So often, if you look at those areas of life that are problematic for you, your challenges, your issues, you'll discover that there's misalignment with one of your core values. If we can shift alignment to be in congruency with your core values, will that distress be alleviated? And I get it. Change is hard. I know so well how difficult it is to bypass our natural tendency to resist change, to disrupt our homeostasis. It's horrible. But we lean into discomfort and align with our values. We open up the possibilities for a more fulfilling life. We create meaning even in that discomfort because we've done something that's important to us. If you're someone who hates exercising, you don't value exercising, and you force yourself to go to the gym, it's not going to feel good. It's not going to feel values aligned. But maybe you love nature. So spending time in nature, the side effect of which is some physical fitness, is a much better way to align with your values than forcing yourself to do something that you really hate. I definitely don't agree with advice that you should just grit your teeth and do uncomfortable things for the sake of it. Do uncomfortable things as long as they're aligned with your values. To discover your values, you might also like to ask people, ask trusted colleagues, ask family members, which values do you think are core to me? You might be surprised. It can help if you present them with your list of 10 or so values that you've discovered so far and say, which ones do you think best describe who I am? It's a bit of a 360-degree feedback exercise. Ask a number of people, get their opinions, but don't let their opinions sway you. It's more about the feedback than taking on board everything that everyone says. You might just find some clues along the way. How about journaling, role-playing? Role-playing can be interesting. So present yourself with some potential challenges. This happens to a loved one. I'm presented with this challenge in my work. How would I react? This can provide you with a clue to what your core values are. For example, if you value growth and innovation, a setback at work might be an opportunity for you. That's a clue that innovation might be one of your top values, or even disruption. However, if change at work causes a fight-flight response or a freeze response, your nervous system says, oh my gosh, there's threat in the environment, well, you might value stability. Search in these role-playing situations for clues that might lead you to some of your core values. Now, I mentioned the values pyramid. This is a framework created at the Start with Values movement, created as part of my book, Start with Values. You might want to explore selecting one value from each level of that pyramid. A belonging value, for example, community or friendship, perhaps a growth value, mastery, for example, an impact value, recognition, and a fulfillment value, legacy. It's up to you. But having this values diversity means that you're going to be well-rounded. However, if you're in a certain phase of life, such as you're a philanthropist, you've achieved everything that you want from your career, you might find that all of your values reside at the top of the pyramid in that fulfillment layer. You're looking for peace, you're looking for gratitude, you're looking for altruism, to help others. Someone who is in the prime of their career might be fully focused on impact values. Someone who's younger might be focused on growth values. And most of us will be focused on belonging values at some point. Or many people discover along the journey that they've neglected their belonging values. How many of you have lost contact with close friends? I have. In my pursuit of growth and impact, I became quite disconnected from many of the people who I love most. Family, friends. But that's part of my journey. I valued my growth. I valued impact more than those relationships. But it's never too late to revisit, reconnect, rejuvenate those relationships that matter to you, because you'll need them further on in the journey. So never feel like you can't recalibrate your values. You can do this at any time. And in fact, it is the journey of life. It's a journey of adopting values. When we're young, we might adopt the values of our peer group, and then we adopt the values of our workplace, perhaps. How many people become completely identified with their career? You ask them, who are you? And they tell you what they do for a job. That's not who you are. Who you are is what you value. Imagine being able to answer that question, who are you, with an answer like, I'm a creative, kind, and fit person. And this is what I do. I prioritize writing. I love running up the mountain. And I really like helping people. How might I help you or be of service? You are so much more than the labels we traditionally apply to ourselves. And if you can identify and discover your core values and then bring them to life using micro habits, ensuring that your environment is full of clues to help you to live and breathe your values every single day, you will craft a life that is ultimately fulfilling. I'm super passionate about this. I hope this short video has been useful, maybe even engaging. Let me know in the comments, and be sure to click on the links below, because we've created a whole suite of tools to help you on your values discovery and alignment journey.